Sometimes the thrill of soaring must begin with the fear of falling. That's a really good line. A really good line. Sometimes the thrill of soaring must begin with the fear of falling. So my message this morning is on ready to take a risk. Are you ready to take a risk? We've been exploring together Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way. Not the obstacle is in the way, but the obstacle itself is the way. It's the idea that we can move from impediment to empowerment. It's the idea of turning stumbling blocks into stepping stones. It's the idea of experiencing our obstacles as a catalytic force for our own growth and unfoldment. And in doing so, the implication is that we will be different as a result of these obstacles, and that to get through them, around them, over them, under them, beyond them, is going to require that we take some chances, that we take some risks. And so I want to talk to you about that this morning. I want to have a conversation with you about why we can pull away from risk-taking and making and taking chances. I want to share with you some ideas on things that we've got to remember so that we are willing to step into the change. We are willing to answer the call of our soul to continue its journey upward and onward. In this book that Ryan Holiday has written, as he pulls a tremendous number of examples across all different times and ages and all different kinds of people, the fundamental idea that he is presenting again and again is that no obstacle is too big to solve. No obstacle is too big to solve, and that it's not in the way, it is actually the way. And throughout the book, he has presented 3 disciplines that we need to practice in order to get beyond that obstacle. And it's been my prayer, my personal prayer time, as I've thought about you and as I've worked the material myself personally. It's been my prayer for us that together we are beginning to perceive our obstacles in a different way. I invited you to bring with you in your awareness your biggest obstacle so we can work on it together in this time. And so my prayer has been that through our journey, you would begin to perceive it differently. And in fact, I encourage you to look at your obstacle as a project, and not just a project, but if you were with us, a big, delightful project. Say that, a big, delightful project. I've held you in my prayers that you would be taking at least 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 inspired actions around your big, delightful project. And I've been holding you in my prayers that you would use your power of will, your divine faculty of will, to keep your eyes on what it is that you are being pulled toward, what it is that you are wanting to bring forth in your life, what it is you are wanting to achieve, and that you keep your eye on that much more so than having your eye on whatever that obstacle is, whatever that big, delightful project might be. That you practice what it was that Peter practiced when he was in the boat with a couple of the other disciples, and Jesus was on the water, we're told walking on the water, and a storm came up and the disciples were afraid for their lives in this tiny little boat. And Jesus called out to them and said, "Walk to me." That was no small invitation, folks. And it was only Peter, and I love him for it, who had the courage to take the risk to get out of the boat and try to walk toward Jesus on the water, the story goes. And what inspires me is that as the story unfolds, and it's a quick story, but as the story unfolds, that he is successful for a few moments as long as he uses his will to stay focused on his teacher. But the minute he becomes more aware of the wind and the waves and loses his focus, he sinks. What a metaphor for us. What a metaphysical teaching for us, that we must be clearer on our teacher, clearer on our objective, clearer on our dream, clearer on our goal, and have that be more real to us than whatever it is that is seemingly in the way. It isn't always easy, though, is it? Or is it easy for you? Oh, okay, because if it's easy for you, then I can just say amen and we can just go home or listen to Jimmer sing again. No, it isn't always easy. And doing anything different takes some effort, does it not? First of all, it takes being as clear as we can on what it is that we need to do differently. And I'm not positive how it works in your life. I think I know, and I think it works pretty much the same way as it does in my life. That once I make a decision to start making some changes, one of the very first things I'm aware of is all the times I forget, right? But that's part of the process, because when I become aware of the things that I am forgetting, then I can start to wake up, and then I can start to be more consistent in moving in the direction that I know I need to move in order to do and be what I know I am being called to do and be next in my life. And it requires being willing to take some chances. It requires getting in there. It requires being willing to take some risks. I shared some readings with First Service, as I do every Sunday during the contemplative service. And one of them that I really liked is this one from Jim McMahon. He says, yes, risk-taking is inherently failure-prone. Otherwise, it would be called sure thing taking. Right? So what is it about risk-taking that is scary for us? Why are we afraid to take some chances? Why are we afraid of risks? The unknown. Any other reason besides the unknown? Failure, absolutely. Any others? Consequences of the failure, and especially if it's public, right? I mean, that hurts even more. Any other ones? Getting hurt. Loss. I mean, like in the business world, sometimes failure has financial loss associated with it. There can be loss of reputation in failure. There can be loss of physical loss, emotional loss. So there's a part of us that seems to be wired toward risk avoidance. And yet there is a stronger part in us, the God in us, the divine in us, the spiritual imprint in us that longs to always be growing and evolving and becoming in spite of, or perhaps we should say because of, the risks that we need to take. I was thinking the other day about some of the scariest, riskiest things I've done in my life. And I actually came up with a pretty big list. And some of them were risks of physical nature. Some were risks of emotion and the feeling of failure. Perhaps one of the most vivid to me had to do with us trying to raise the funds to build or to buy the building that we sit in now and that we now own. And in the process of trying to put together our funding, we had to go into a capital campaign. And we worked with a consultant for a while, and one of the very first things that the consultant said to me is, Wendy, you are going to need to sit down personally and ask the person in the congregation that has the greatest wealth. You're going to need to personally ask them to make the lead gift, a big, substantial gift. This is how almost all capital campaigns are run in the nonprofit world. You need to go, Wendy, and talk to this person in person and ask them to commit to making the lead gift. I remember what that felt like in my body. everything inside of me was shutting down, other than perspiring and heart pounding and thinking, no, I can't do this. This scares me to death. I don't know that they're going to say yes. They may not say yes. I don't know how to get the words out. It's the most unpleasant thing you are asking me to do. This is what I'm saying to myself. I just can't do this. And all the memories of being a little girl in Girl Scouts, whenever it came time to sell Girl Scout cookies door to door, I quit Girl Scouts. I could not knock on the door and have people say, no, they wouldn't buy my Girl Scout cookies. And you're asking me to go ask the lead people in the church if they will make the lead gift? I'm arguing with this person in my mind, and I'm knowing he's right. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this for a lot of different reasons. Not just because it is proven to be one of the most successful ways to begin a capital campaign, but I need to do it because I'm scared to do it. I need to do it because I'm scared to do it. And so I scheduled a luncheon with Judd and Rachel Grosvenor, beautiful people who used to come to our center. They've moved on somewhat in the physical plane as well. This story is a lot of years ago. And I scheduled a luncheon with them. They insisted on treating John and me. We met at Mr. A's. Made me even more nervous. Had two of our consultants with me, so there was no way that I could cheat and not ask the question. I have no idea if I even ate my food. I probably pushed it around the plate, thinking, when do I ask? How do I ask? How do I move from casual conversation to, will you make the lead gift of like $100,000? I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth, but eventually I did. And the answer was no. And, how do you pick back up the conversation after that? The answer was no. And I remember Judd's words to me. He said, Wendy, I'm not a hot prospect, but I'm a lukewarm suspect. And I thought, okay. But he followed it with, but I have no doubt you will raise the money and you will build that church. And I kept myself from saying to him, you are damn right I will. What happened in that moment was so important on so many levels. It was the willingness to take a risk and to do the thing that for me was one of the most difficult things anybody could have asked me to do with regard to our church and trying to establish a permanent home for us. But the learning that came from that experience, the willingness to do the thing that was so hard for me to do, and then to try to recover my composure to the no, and to realize, well, we're going to have to find another way. And we did find another way. We did find another way. And the interesting thing, if you've been in this community for any length of time and know anything about the history of Stallion Oaks Ranch, many years later, the Grosvenors, the same family, were the people who gave the Unity Center Stallion Oaks Ranch. You can clap for that. In fact, when I was asked to be one of the two ministers to speak at Judd's memorial service, they asked me to tell that story, so it's okay for me to tell it publicly. Taking chances, taking risks, isn't always easy. What's that line in the song that Jimmer sang? Sometimes to experience the thrill of soaring, you must face the fear of falling. And on one hand, if you measure it just concretely, you could say, I failed at securing that lead gift. I like how the dictionary defines failure. The dictionary defines failure, I do have it in here, as a condition or fact of not achieving the desired end result. And what I like about that is the use of the words condition and fact, because I am not a student of condition and fact. I am a student of metaphysical, spiritual truth with a capital T, and I believe you are too. That you are a student of something that doesn't ignore facts, but does not let facts have the ultimate say in what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and what you're going to become. That you are a student of something higher than that, and that is why you can see the wisdom in what Ryan says, that the obstacle is the way. It's not in the way, it is the way. Let me quickly share with you 4 ideas to help inspire you, perhaps, to whatever risk-taking you need to do in your life. Because I'm sure, as I'm standing here, that there is something that you're dealing with right now that you need to be willing to take a risk. And your risk doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It isn't how big your risk is compared to someone else's. It's what you need to risk, and you alone, in order to deepen into your own sense of confidence and strength and capacity to achieve what you are here to achieve. So the first, let me go back to my notes here. The first, let failure wake you up. Say that with me. Let failure wake you up. Personalize it. I let failure wake me up. Together, I let failure wake me up. What Judd did for me in saying, no, I will not give you that lead gift. Not only will I not give it to you, I am not a hot prospect, I am a cool suspect. No, he woke me up to a fire that was going to prove him wrong, or actually prove him right, that I would some way make it happen. Let failure wake you up. Turn to the person next to you and convince them that that is so for you. Go ahead. Not good enough. You're not first service. Do it again. Do it again. If you can't convince the people in this room, I'll leave it there. This is an easy audience to convince, even if it's momentarily. You may be able to only hold on to this idea that you will let failure wake you up. You will maybe only be able to hold it on to it for a few moments, but that's better than not holding on to it at all. And with practice, it will become more solid inside of you. Second, we must remember that there is an answer to every problem. There absolutely, positively is an answer to every problem. Say with me, there is an answer to every problem. Somebody reminded me after first service that, but sometimes we may not like the answer. That's true. Sometimes we may not like the answer. It doesn't mean that it's not the answer. And oftentimes, we don't have it. We don't have the answer. But that doesn't mean that the answer doesn't exist somewhere in someone or in something. We believe solidly that we are part of the mind of God, that the answer resides in the mind of God, and that as a part of the mind of God, we are connected with that. And in that connection, if we let that mind of God flow through us, somehow, some way, the answer will be revealed to us, or the person who has the answer, or a piece of the puzzle will somehow come into our experience. Yes. And I'll tell you, when we know that even though we don't know the answer, that there is an answer somewhere, when we hold to that, it helps us with persistence and staying power. And that's really important. The third Get a new mantra. Say that with me. Get a new mantra. You might be thinking, what the heck is she talking about? Get a new mantra. I don't even have a mantra. I don't know what a mantra is, or I've had them and they don't work. Get a new mantra. A lot of us run a mantra of, I can't. I can't. That is not a good mantra. I love the expression, a loser says, I can't do it, while a winner says, I can't do it yet. Oh, that 3-letter little word, yet. It's a deliciously powerful word. I can't do it yet. And I'm going to edit it, because I have the mic and I can do that. I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet. There are a lot of things I believe I will be able to do that I haven't done yet. And some of those things still scare me when I think about them. But they can never scare me as much as they would have if I hadn't taken the risk to do one of the most biggest, awful, ugliest things for me that I had to do. I would not have made a good salesperson, right? And the same is true for you. The same is true for you. So get a new mantra. Get a new mantra. Not, I can't do it, but I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet. And the fourth, let prickly push you out and up. I'll say it again, then you're going to say it with me. Let prickly push you out and up. Together, let prickly push you out and up. Now try to get a picture of prickly. Let prickly push you out and up. I love nature. And much of the time, if I'm going to watch television, it's either going to be something on the Science Channel or something to do with biography, or it's going to be something to do with nature. And it's amazing to me how much of nature we can capture now with the kinds of cameras and equipment we have. And I'm so grateful that we can, because we can learn so very much. I love eagles. I love eagles. To me, they are majestic, incredibly intelligent, strong, and powerful, sentient beings. I'm not sure I would make a very good mother eagle, though. And here's why. A mother eagle builds an enormous, the largest nest. I forget the size of it and the weight of it, but it's huge nest for her babies. And when those eggs hatch and when those eaglets need to fly, if they do not fly and leave the nest when they are supposed to leave the nest, the mother is imprinted with divine intelligence, a divine plan, divine instinct to know how to handle that. The mother has built the strongest, largest, most protective nest for her babies. And the mother has laid that nest with the softest material she can find for the most comfortable place for those little ones. I love that part of that mother eagle. But when it's time for them to go, if they do not go on their own, she does a very important thing. She begins to take out all the down, all the feathers, everything that makes that nest soft and comfortable. And if they still won't go, she will push them right up and out. There may be a part of us that doesn't want to push up and out, but the consequence for those babies, if they were to stay in that comfortable place forever, their forever would be very, very short. Because that comfort was designed for them at a certain stage in their growth and evolution. And what once was right for them becomes incredibly wrong and inhibiting for them at the next stage of their evolution. And if they do not follow the imprint that's in them to go off on their own, The conspiracy of the divine intelligence is such that the mother will start to make it really uncomfortable for those babies to stay in that nest. And the same is true for us. The same is true for you. Did you know that there's a conspiracy going on? Did you? There is a conspiracy going on, a divine conspiracy. And that conspiracy is that you get to be comfortable in your life for a little while until it's time to grow. And you know that it's time to grow because things begin to feel just a little uncomfortable. We have all sorts of words for it. The more spiritual ones are words like divine discontent, right? It begins to feel a little uncomfortable. And have you noticed that if you don't start moving and changing things up a bit when it starts to feel a little uncomfortable, that it starts to feel much more uncomfortable until it feels really uncomfortable, until you are whopped upside the head by a cosmic 2x4 to wake up and get out of the nest. That's the divine conspiracy. And it's a good thing because you and I are designed for growth and evolution on every single level. We are designed for growth and evolution physically and biologically. That's how evolution happens biologically. We are designed for growth and evolution spiritually, mentally, and emotionally as well. So I've given you some reminders, and as I wrap it up, I want to ask you, what is the risky thing that you need to do? Is it to go ask somebody for a lead gift? Is it to pick up the phone and make that really difficult call? Is it to end an abusive relationship? Is it to go into therapy and finally deal with the thing that has been wounding you and you've been allowing to hold you back forever? Is it time to start telling yourself a different story? A story of what is possible? Is it time for you to change your career, your life trajectory? I don't know what the risky action is for you, but I do know that it is in your life for a reason, and it will not let you go until you pay attention to it and do something with it. You will find that the moment you step off that cliff, one of two things will happen. You will either find the ground comes up to meet you and support you, or you will find that you have wings to fly. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.